Oi, gente, estamos começando aqui o Warley no ar, tá no ar mais uma vez, eu tô feliz hoje.
Tá no ar o Warley no ar.
É isso mesmo, Duda. E eu tô muito feliz porque hoje tem um cara aqui que é maravilhoso. Ele veio da Alemanha, diretamente da Alemanha pra cá. Ele é ventríloco e eu já tive a oportunidade de fazer 3 shows com ele lá nos Estados Unidos.
E ele também é o nosso patrono aqui do Brasil, do que, Warley?
Do Vent Fest Brasil. Ele é o nosso convidado e patrono daqui do Vent Fest Brasil, né, Duda?
É isso aí.
Com vocês, Stevo Schuling.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, Stevo.
Well, thank you for having me or having us on your show.
Yeah, and I'd like already to introduce to you a very nice friend of mine whose name is Duda.
Eu não sabia em qual câmera. Trai nessa.
E aí, Duda, tudo bem, cara?
Mais ou menos, Warley. Mais ou menos porque eu não sei falar inglês.
Eu tô sabendo o que você fala do seu jeito bonito.
Não é que eu falo. É que eu tenho um botão de SAP, Warley. Fica no meu nariz. Você pode apertar pra mim?
Ah, tá. Aperto.
How is going? What language am I speaking?
Calma aí, deixa eu apertar de novo.
Que língua eu tô falando agora, Warley?
Não, você tem que falar uma outra língua ainda. Tchau.
Que língua eu tô falando agora, Warley?
Português, vamos pro inglês?
What language am I speaking now, Warley?
Ah, yes, very good. This is the idea. So,
I have to try that one time.
yes. How was this experience of being at Vent Fest Brasil?
I can't really describe it because it's so overwhelming. It has turned out better than we could have hoped for.
Sure.
It was a wonderful experience to meet fellow ventriloquists.
People from all over the country.
Yes, I had to look it up. For those who don't know, it's my first time in Brazil, so it's my first time in Sao Paulo, although we go back quite a long time.
Yes.
And I know that Brazil is a big country, but traveling so far, I think it was happening what we both were hoping for, that there would be the spirit of camaraderie, of yes, I'm not isolated. Yes, there is not a dying art. Yes, we have fun together. We enjoy that. And I think the spark went over to the public, to the audiences, to the people at the puppet museum, puppet theater.
And it's interesting because I would say you do know how to get to your audience wherever you are, because when you came here, you did your shows. We had an opportunity also for the comedy club and so on, but we're going to talk about it yet. But at the Vent Fest Brazil, besides teaching many people, you also made your performance with a Brazilian non-person who's a Liminha. And how was it like?
Well, like I say, the key to success in performing arts is know your audience. And when we spoke about your invitation for me to come to Brazil and be part of Vent Fest Brasil, it was obvious that I cannot perform. I don't speak Portuguese well enough. I'll try to pick up a few sentences here and there, but there's no way I can perform properly for a Portuguese-speaking audience. And of course, I cannot expect an audience in Sao Paulo to, speak a foreign language. So, thinking of a way, what can we do about it, was that I was talking to Duda. And said, Duda, I have a problem. Warley wants me to perform at Vent Fest Brasil, and I don't speak Portuguese. So I talked.
How do you say that in Portuguese?
Yeah, that's the only sentence I can say. Eu não falo português, and that's like a tagline it became for me. So I don't speak Portuguese in Portuguese, which is kind of funny. But then I went through my act and my performances, my bits with Duda, and he had a brilliant idea to Brazilianize part of my act that is more visual. And in fact, I did that bit in Tokyo in 2001 in a Japanese version, and I've done it at the convention in an American version. Usually I do it in a German version in Germany, which is slightly different, but I had no idea how could I Brazilianize this part of the act. And Duda.
Warley. He showed me the monkey puppet, and he had a blonde wig and sunglasses, and he asked me, Duda, Does this guy resemble with some Brazilian celebrity?
And then what did you say?
Well, not the hair, but the glasses looks like Liminha glasses.
Wow. So you thought of Liminha.
Yay.
And then I have a secret for you too. We have a video from Liminha. Let's have a look at that. Stevo, I got a message for you from a very nice guy.
Alô, Stevo! Aqui é o Liminha. Tô passando aqui para agradecer esse mimo, esse carinho, essa homenagem que você está fazendo com o Liminha na Alemanha. Meu, fico muito feliz de saber que o Liminha é um poliglota. O Liminha está na Alemanha, junto com o Stevo. Muito obrigado pelo carinho, viu? Tô aqui,
Valeu,
brother,
querido.
agradecendo de coração, viu?
Valeu.
Um beijo, viu? Beijo. Manda um vídeo pra mim que eu vou pôr na minha rede social.
Beleza.
Valeu, bro.
That's cool.
Nice. And also, something we should talk about is that the puppet he used for this performance is Mark Waid's one, right?
Yes, I couldn't bring my puppet because the monkey I usually use at home was afraid that he wouldn't get through quarantine, and he was very lazy at the Portuguese lessons. So I said, "Tell you what, you stay back home, and I'm looking for a monkey in Brazil." So let me put Theo down. Theo, can I
Yes.
retire you for a moment? Yes, I can have a drink. Yeah, you can have a drink.
Yes.
Uau, igualzinho,
Gente, não
olha
parece
aí.
Liminha?
É
Põe uma
muito
foto
igual.
lado a lado.
Nossa senhora, gente.
Liminha, Liminha.
Ei.
And Liminha got really happy about it.
Of course, this personality that was created for Vent Fest Brasil, with the references to the celebrity in this country, will have to remain here. Now, the puppet body itself had a previous life with the American ventriloquist Mark Waid, who's a wonderful kid show performer, Mr. Kid Show, we call him. Also executive director of the Van Haven Convention for a number of years, retired just now. So it's a wonderful thing that this puppet gets a new personality, gets his new act, which is truly Brazilian because the reference of these props that make him a celebrity make him yeah. So I think he deserves his time out, and with a very nice greeting. The true Liminha. I'm very happy that you liked what we did with your fame, to
Yes.
say so, and with the recognition that you have, and that we could use it in a fun way, because I know you are a funny person, and we like you for that.
Yes.
Obrigado, Liminha. Yes. So out you go.
We have to highlight the work of Lara also in this
Yes.
convention, the very first international convention in Brazil, Vent Fest, and also Hugo Moraes and everyone.
Gelatina.
Gelatina, Miguel Lavezo, who
Who
drew
made a very beautiful
logo.
logo.
Yeah.
Aldo and the Galpão.
Aldo and
Bonecos.
Galpão dos Bonecos. We have to thank them also.
But it took your idea
Gelatina also.
and to go to the convention, go overseas, and think how could we help the art of ventriloquism? What would be a fun place? And we toyed with that idea even before the pandemic.
Yes.
And then the pandemic destroyed our plans, and I stopped learning Portuguese. It's never going to happen. So then, when the little light came up on the horizon after the pandemic, we thought it could be possible.
The little light that had a little name, which is Lara.
Lara.
Lara
So
also
but
happened,
you know, beyond the very creative people who think of, dream of things, there need to be people who do the actual
Yes,
work.
we do. Because we dreamed it about more than 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
It
and
was a-
like I think, and actually do think she is sort of heaven sent to have someone who's truly loving the art of ventriloquism and quite a good ventriloquist herself, as we saw on stage, but also prepared to pitch in so much of her free time and effort and start organizing from nothing. There is no history to go back to talk to people, get their communication, get their input, find a location, set a date, and do all the organizational stuff behind the scenes, down to minute details that matter in the end, including teaching me a little Portuguese, going through your book with me so I could be prepared for teaching ventriloquism in a foreign language. So all these things, and it would be an endless list. So we cannot thank Lara enough to make it happen and make it possible, and in such a beautiful way too.
So, Stevo, you were with, we'd say, relíquia in Portuguese.
Relish.
Which is, a relish.
No, relish is the thing that goes in hot dogs.
An icon.
Reliquia.
Is
Huh?
icon.
An icon.
An icon.
Iconic.
Iconic figure.
Pinocchio, who used to belong to the ventriloquist Bilbo, and later to our very
Big reference in Brazil, which is
and
gelatina.
very important staff and performer at the Vent Fest Brasil, Wilson Vasconcelos, palhaço gelatina, and also Titinho, who was used during the 50s and 60s through Moacir Milanês.
Yes.
And is there.
Titinho is the other guy.
Just survived the heart surgery. That's why he's not moving right now, but he's recovering.
Yes, we have the images of the Danilo breaking his head.
Ei, só toma cuidado que o boneco é dos anos 60.
E agora a gente tá aqui aguardando a chegada dele, a ambulância dele tá pra chegar a qualquer momento, e o Warley. Eu sinto muito, eu espero que tudo fique bem entre a gente. Eu não tenho mais condições, diretor.
And we have a very special announcement to do, Warley.
E nosso abraço pro Jeff também, que tava lá naquele dia que quebrou o boneco, o Ditinho. Mas, ok.
And with those two very puppets, we have a very special announcement to do, Warley. We are starting right now, our very first Museum of Brazilian Ventriloquists.
I was blessed to meet Gelatina and be on stage with him, which I'm very proud of. And now to have the figure so close to me and seeing the big nose grow, it's a marvelous, and I think it's a wonderful start for a collection to maintain and preserve the tradition that ventriloquism has in this country, with all its aspects that we covered, like the folklore aspect, the stage, the circus, Gelatina and the circus. So to have these two puppets and the stories behind them is a wonderful landmark in preserving and keeping together this heritage.
And they are two, I think, of the oldest figures here in Brazil. So ventriloquist figures, and so Stevo, talking about Brazil again, how was it to perform in a comedy club with Fábio Rabin, Maurício Meirelles, Diogo Portugal, and Warley Santana? Sorry.
No, that is it's truly unbelievable. If, let's say, someone wanted to make a movie about a German ventriloquist being invited to Sao Paulo, and he would have to write a dream list. What would you like to achieve or see or be part of when you go 2 weeks into Brazil? Definitely, that any director would say, "Come on, who wrote this script? How could this happen?" Being invited to your home, to your residence,
it's a dream coming true.
And having a comedy club within walking distance here, and finding a night where everybody has to speak English. So performing on a comedy club with these names in English in front of a Brazilian crowd who speak English, it's just an out of this world experience. It's like going to a movie and having everything dubbed in your ear like bubblefish. No, and it was great with these guys. They were really friendly, really nice, and very good atmosphere, good vibrations in the place. So no, it's one thing I would never miss. And I'm glad there are photos to prove that this is not just a dream I had.
And also about it, because this trip has been so big, and we're so happy with you here, Stevo. You also were interviewed by Globo TV from Ana Maria Braga, Mais Você, Warley, and with our most famous, by our most famous puppet reporter,
Yes.
who is Loro Mané from
Loro
Ana Maria
Mané.
Braga. And how was this experience
Well,
like?
that was.
Loro Mané,
It's
that's-
always good to work with professionals like we do tonight, but also to understand that there has been 30 years of with this one show in Brazil. So I can really not think of any living Brazilian who doesn't know
Yes.
this comic type parrot-like co-host of the most popular morning show in this again huge country, and to be allowed to be so close to the real one and actually being interviewed by him was really an amazing thing. And we have still photos that we can show.
Yes.
I actually was very close to that personality character that every Brazilian knows. No, again, who would have thought? Who could have thunk to believe
So
that?
you came here. You had a festival of
Yes.
yours because the international.
Vent Fest Brasil.
Yeah, it's international because you're here.
I
you
made it
know that you
international,
made it
yes.
international. You had a comedy club experience
club.
with famous comedians.
Comedy
Yes.
in Brasil.
Comedy in Brazil by Daniel, right?
Comedy in Brasil.
Daniel Bonatti, and also being interviewed by Loro Mané, the most famous Brazilian puppet. How was it?
That's amazing. And may I remind you, I also met two great voice actors
Yes.
and witnessed them doing a podcast.
Nossa,
Yes.
os dubladores do Rick e Morty,
Os
Warley.
dubladores do Rick e Morty, é isso
Eu
mesmo.
tive a voz do Morty, Warley, isso é muito icônico. I had Morty's voice, that's so iconic.
Nice. No,
I met them, and I saw you do your day job
yes.
working with Chega Mais.
Yes, with Chega Mais from SBT. I work at SBT. I love it. And then you saw
Come closer.
the hot
Which again,
dogs.
for the English-speaking audiences who not that familiar with Brazil, it's a daily a daily show that Warley works as a reporter for all matters outside the studio. So he's called in. We had our plans cancelled throughout the week because he's very busy. He's a household face in Brazil for people. Whenever people ask me, how did you come to Brazil? I can say, it's this guy from Chega Mais. They go, oh, no, we know him from Chega Mais. So he's very popular here. People know him. And to be put into this environment without deserving it at all
You
has
do
been a
deserve
marvelous
it.
experience and gave me immediate and instant input on so many levels. It was just amazing and overwhelming, and I can't thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Steve, and I have a very deep question to ask you now. Jeitinho brasileiro, jeito brasileiro. So, what do you think of it before, and what do you think of it just now?
Well, I heard that expression as I was trying to learn and tune in to Portuguese, the Brazilian Portuguese, and be prepared in some way of what I would find here, because I knew precious little. I'm ready to admit that I knew too little about Brazil, and I watched videos on YouTube, and there was this expression of this Brazilian way, the jeito brasileiro. Now, so is that an excuse for things not happening the way they should happen? Is it a cover-up for some sort of phenomenon that nobody else understands? It's hard to grasp. But once I was in the country, day by day, evening by evening, night by night, meal by meal, I got to understand more of it and to see that things are just done in a very specific way that is inclusive. It includes people. It allows people to be relaxed about things, yet working together towards a common goal, achieving something, maybe not quite as organized as a German would like to see it happen, definitely not as uptight as many business people would want it, but definitely in a specifically uniting and upbeat and positive and welcoming way. So that all goes into my feeling now of jeito brasileiro, and I'm happy to say that if I go back a different person in that I hope I can take home a little bit of this jeito brasileiro along with the pounds I put on from the good food.
Nice. And also talking about food, you had you saw samba and feijoada
and
coxinha and churrasco,
açaí,
remember?
Yes,
caipirinha,
cachaça.
There
was almost no end.
Baião de dois.
Baião de dois, cerveja, and pastel e caldo de cana.
Yes.
We are almost cured.
Yeah.
Duda,
remember when we went to the market and we had the sugar cane juice?
Yes, caldo de cana. Yes, this caldo de cana.
It's such a miracle that these German guys are still alive. Let's have a big hand to Stevo.
A big hand to Stevo.
No, as those people who've never been to Brazil, it's really mind-boggling to see the multitude. And I would like to say it's very heavy on meat. It is, and I could also say it's very heavy on sugar. It is, but it's also heavy on grease and on carbohydrates. It's rich on anything, and Brazilians love being together, being in a group, eating, extending their lunch break. Coming back together after a while, so it's been a festival for me in many respects.
Not being so strict on time, right? It's
I love that. As a German, I love giving it some extra minutes and not being mad about someone being held up in traffic. No, it's been a wonderful experience, really great. But on a more serious note, I do understand how privileged I am to be put into this very special environment with good friends I can trust. So to me, it has been a very safe experience. It's been a very diverse experience, meeting people from different parts of the country, from different walks of life, with different biographies, and finding them very open and very warm and very friendly and eager to share the experience. The people who work at the Galpão dos Bonecos.
Yes.
And finding out that there are challenges in life for Brazilians that are quite different from the challenges we have in Germany and that we have in the United States, that there are fights to be fought, there are crises to be managed, and yet to keep it in a positive, upbeat way of optimism and trust and believing and working together. So all that enters this mosaic of Brazil, which is by no means complete, because every time I find a new little spot, I think it's still a new facet to it. Walking through this neighborhood with Duda, who grew up near here, so he can actually tell me I think there was even a place that he claimed he went to school.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he went to school at all, but
I don't think so.
I think the school of life made him what he is today.
School of life, maybe.
Yeah.
Why and how ventriloquism entered your life?
How it entered my life,
yes,
or how it changed my life? No, it
both
entered my life. You see, English is not my first language, so I wanted to improve my English skills back in the days. So almost the only program I could catch on television with American voices was Sesame Street. So I met the characters from Sesame Street, and I loved those puppet characters. And then I tried to catch every movie that would be on German television without dubbing. In Germany, we have the movies dubbed, so everybody speaks German and not English. But only late at night, on Saturday nights, there would be one movie, sometimes a Western, sometimes a gangster movie. And one time, I came across the movie You Can't Cheat an Honest Man with Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy. And that what made me think that ventriloquism is a fun thing to do, and I wanted to be a ventriloquist.
We could say this is our first reference of ventriloquism.
That was my first reference, and Edgar Bergen, Charlie McCarthy, Mortimer Snerd really set the pace for me, but I had no way of learning it. So I went to the library.
Do you remember how age were you at the time?
I was probably 16, 17 years old.
Oh, nice.
You were 16 at the time then when you first
that
saw
happened.
that?
But I had no way of learning. There was no proper book. There was no internet, of course. There was no way to obtain any information. But I had that dream, that idea. And so we fast forward a few years, and I was in Berlin. That was before the wall came down, an isolated West German city in the middle of East Germany, and I went to a flea market. And I love flea markets. I went to one here in Sao Paulo, which was a great experience.
Yeah, the Benedito Calixto.
Yeah,
I took
Benedito
him to Benedito Calixto. He really enjoyed it.
I liked your accent, Duda. Benedito Calixto.
Yeah.
Benedito
Yes.
Calixto.
Calixto.
Yeah, nice.
On a Saturday, on a Sabbath, Sabado. And well, in Berlin, I saw a little suitcase, and it had a ventriloquist figure. The person who sold it had no idea what it was, so I got it very, very cheaply. But I had the idea that if I get a real ventriloquist figure, the figure would talk. And I had to find out it didn't.
So you had to make it talk, right?
So, but I had no way of learning, so now I had a proper ventriloquist figure. And then much, much later, I was in London, in England. There's a huge bookstore called Foyle's Bookstore, and they claim that they have a book on anything. And I wanted to take them to the test. So I went to the information booth and said, well, where would I find a book on ventriloquism? And the guy, without missing a beat, said, that would be under hobbies, sir, 3rd floor on the left.
Wow.
So I went to the 3rd floor, and I found 2 books on ventriloquism, and I bought one, I Can See Your Lips Moving by Valentine Vox, beautiful book.
Wow, Valentine Vox, yes.
Yeah, I Can See Your Lips Moving.
Sure.
So I had a dummy. Don't call me dummy. No, you're not dummy. I had a vent figure. I had a little idea of how to do it. And then I still couldn't really get my hands around it. And again, we fast forward a few years. We're in 1986 now. I went to New York City, New York, and I went to a wonderful magic store called Lou Tannen's Magic Store. And they had full-size ventriloquist figures, and they had a little advertisement for a ventriloquist home study course, the Mayer course.
Oh, the Mayer course already existed so at this time, and then
it's been around since the 1930s.
Sure, yeah.
And at that time, the Detweilers were having the Mayer studios in.
But were they these small booklets, the colored ones, or
no?
Or
at that time, it was a little. It was audio cassettes and books to read, all in one set. And I bought that. I took that out. I called the Mayer Studios, and Adelia Detweiler was very nice to me, and she gave me a list of German ventriloquists who were customers of hers. And so I bought stuff with the Mayer Studio.
What, Adelia
Detweiler, yes.
Wow.
She was still alive at that time.
Nice.
A very pleasant, very delightful lady. And she, out of her customers list, she gave me a number of German ventriloquists. I contacted them all. 2 did never respond. 1 thought I was an old friend of school trying to pull his leg, which I wasn't. And 1 got really friendly and helped me. So then I took the Mayer course, and as you may know, to finish it, you have to do a public performance.
Sure.
And I did that at my workplace. And I was working in a hospital at the time called Technische Orthopädie, Technical Orthopedics, which was always abbreviated to TO, Technical Orthopedics. And then the name of my figure became Theo.
Oh, Theo.
Yes.
This is why
This is
TEPCO
why.
Orthopedics. Yeah, nice.
Theoretical. Registering with the Mayer course, automatically you became a member of the organization and got the newsletter, and they had a section for swap and sell and buy, and that's how I got the original head for Theo. Theo, that's me.
Theo, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, and there's this history with the booklets and with the newsletter, news events. I heard about a place called the Convention where there would be many ventriloquists, and I thought I had to go, and I did, and decided to go there every year when I could, and that's developed into the setup for where we met.
Yes.
So I flew over, didn't know anybody, had a list of names.
So, Stevo, in your opinion, the top 10 ventriloquists of all times?
In chronological order or alphabetical order, or how do you want them?
Chronological, please.
Chronological order. That's good, that's easy, because it would be very hard to say who is the best of all. I don't really want to do that.
Okay.
I would go through time and say, because they were the greatest at their time, they belong into the list of all-time greats.
Top 1!
So to me, Edgar Bergen would be definitely the one on top one. He made it to be on a stamp of the United say.
Do you think he has this actually responsibility of having made ventriloquism popular?
No, I wouldn't say that. It was very popular in the ages of vaudeville. We have very little. There were no films at that time, so we have very little evidence. And then Bergen was the one to put ventriloquism in the movies, the short movies that they used to show before the Vitaphone reels, as we call them, that are around. And he took ventriloquism to radio, which at first sight may sound strange. Yes. Why would you do ventriloquism on radio? Well, there was no television then, and it's very entertaining shows he did. So he created the illusion of life, especially Charlie McCarthy and Mortimer Snerd.
And it was a huge success in the radio.
It was a tremendous success. And quite a few things that not very many people know are linked to ventriloquism. For example, you may have heard that when there was a radio show about aliens invading the world.
Oh, yeah, the Orson Welles one.
Exactly, Duda, the Orson Welles one. And
yes,
you
exactly.
Probably know the legend that says that many Americans didn't realize it was a theatrical play.
Show, yes.
And they thought there were really aliens invading the States.
Wow.
Now, what not everybody knows is the reason why they believed it was a real thing happening was because they tuned in late. Of course, before the show started, they said, now we're going to put on a show.
Piece. Yes.
And now you may ask, what is the reason? Why did all these listeners tune in late? Because they were listening to the Chase and Sunburn Hour on the other network, which was Charlie and Edgar Bergen and Charlie McCarthy.
Wow.
So after the Edgar Bergen show, they went over.
Wait a minute. So Orson Welles is so famous because of this very night.
Mm-hmm.
So you can attribute, after a little domino effect, you can attribute Citizen Kane to Edgar Bergen.
Wow, yeah, it makes sense, Duda. Very good, Duda.
Boy.
And actually, Duda, since we are on some kind of television here, the first object to ever see being transported of his image was a ventriloquial head. When they had the first experimental television set, it took hours and hours to set it up. So they took a puppet, which was a ventriloquist puppet, in the studio to try out if a camera could transport an image without wires. So the first image to ever been on television, it was Arthur Prince's Costa Boy. That was the puppet head that was used.
This is so interesting, but let us go back to the 10 guys.
The 10, okay. Edgar Bergen would be one.
Top 2.
Paul Winchell would be the second.
Wait, Bergen. Paul Winchell.
Paul Winchell.
Paul Winchell. It's important for us to tell the people, everyone who don't know about Paul Winchell's inventions and so on, because, and also he was a very multi-talented guy.
Yes,
right?
Paul Winchell is, for many Americans who know Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, Winnie the Pooh.
Need to know
the voice acting, the voice dubbing.
Yeah, that Paul Winchell did the voice of Tigger.
Tigger, yeah.
Tigger's voice is in fact Paul Winchell. Another thing is
Tigger is my favorite.
And Gargamel, from the Smurfs.
With the Smurfs. Also, he invented an artificial heart, a mechanical heart.
Wait. This is something really important we have to talk about.
Yes.
He invented an artificial heart with the help of a friend of his, who's a very famous guy too.
Yes.
Have you ever heard of Heimlich?
Heimlich, yeah.
The guy from the maneuver.
The Heimlich maneuver, yeah.
Heimlich maneuver. Ventriloquism has helped him also because he was a doctor, just like you are, Steve.
I'm a retired medical doctor. That's right.
Yes, this is so interesting.
And then that's why he puts Winchell in second. It's nepotism.
But the real guy Heimlich, Dr. Heimlich, who invented that Heimlich maneuver, came to one of the conventions one, and I was so proud. I had my photo taken with the Heimlich, the guy who gave the maneuver the name.
So you have a photo with Heimlich?
Yes, I have a photo with an aging Professor Heimlich.
Wow.
And Steve, have you ever performed the Hellish Maneuver in some?
Not in an emergency situation. No, I'm lucky. I had emergencies to take care of, but none of them involved the Heimlich maneuver.
But does he introduce himself just like? Did he introduce himself just like I'm Heinrich, the guy from the maneuver?
Oh no, he was a very humble, very friendly old gentleman in this ventriloquist society where it was just the odd one out, and everybody said, "Well, this is the guy." So when it's my turn to shake his hand and say hello, I said, and actually in my real life I am a doctor, and he said, "Oh, I'm so relieved to find another doctor in this environment."
Nice.
So we had a short chat, but he's a very humble and very modest and a very likable gentleman.
Top 3.
Jimmy Nelson.
Jimmy Nelson. Yes, Jimmy Nelson. Wonderful. This one I may say I met him because I did,
Yes.
and many times, and I have his book signed.
Warley with Jimmy Nelson.
Yes, and his lovely lady also.
Yes.
And so Jimmy Nelson,
Who
why
both,
is that?
Both have passed on.
Because of his importance in teaching also?
Exactly. You're right. Exactly. Because of so many American and worldwide ventriloquists from a certain era were got the first idea, got enthusiasm to become ventriloquists because Jimmy Nelson made the Nestle Quick ads for drinkable chocolate.
Sure.
And lots of at that time TV commercial spots were sometimes 5 minutes long or 3 minutes long, 2 minutes long. They were much longer. That's the way they were in the 50s. We're talking 50s here. And Jimmy Nelson also had dolls, toy puppets that worked like ventriloquist dolls. So a lot of young people who wanted to be ventriloquists could get a playing toy that was in fact a Danny O'Day figure made by the Goldberger Juro company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean that was so he made it accessible to many people, and also he had a vinyl, as we say now, a record. And what Jimmy Nelson did was he made it easy to learn ventriloquism by putting out a vinyl record, a true record that you could buy and play at home, explaining how ventriloquism works, which is a collector's item these days. And it's surprising to hear how many professionals. One of the greatest moments in my life, when I was at Vent Haven at the Drawbridge Inn, I was standing in the alleyway in the hotel, and Jimmy Nelson passed by. And someone said, "Oh, you know, Mr. Nelson, can I introduce you to this German gentleman, to this German ventriloquist?" And Jimmy looked at me and said, "I know Steve-O," and went on. And I was like, that's the moment.
Wow, he knows who
Jimmy
I am.
Nelson, "Oh, I know Steve-O." Yes, he knows me.
But everybody does, Steve.
Top 4.
To me, probably Jay Johnson would be definitely
Jay Johnson, yes.
Yay.
Jay Johnson. Jay Johnson, also for being on TV and showcasing
Exactly. The era of television went into colored television. The formats changed. We didn't have those hour-long stories. It became the format of soap operas, of serious, and in the famous soap opera, what's the name?
Soap.
A soap, yes. What we would call a sitcom. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes, sure.
A sitcom.
Yeah.
And in that sitcom, Jay Johnson plays the part of a ventriloquist.
And beautifully, yeah. We have to maintain that because he made a marvelous job.
Because
Right.
he is an actor.
Yeah,
In his real
amazing.
profession, he is an actor. And he was cast for a sitcom to play a ventriloquist, which he also is. And also, Jay is very knowledgeable about the art and the philosophy behind ventriloquism. So he takes it a lot deeper. But he exposed the art in a beautiful way to a new generation of people who would watch sitcoms and who would like this dry sort of deadpan humor. And of course, Jay is the only ventriloquist who ever won a Tony Award for his show.
Wow, and he deserved that.
For
yes.
the two and only, yes.
The two and only has also been a breakthrough in ventriloquism for having these Tony Awards and also having so many nice new techniques like talking to a ball and things like that, tennis ball.
Exactly. The concept of having one ventriloquist, one dummy, as Arthur Prince started it, or more or less Bergen did it, and Winchell, who introduced puppetry. He had puppeteers doing when he had multiple figures on set with him. So everybody added a little bit to it. But yes, Jay, when it took it modern times, and that was still before we had the era of the soft puppets of the Muppets. And then, of course, the Muppets with Jim Henson, who is not a ventriloquist, changed the whole picture of what could be done in ventriloquism.
What is also nice for us to talk about is that Jim Henson said once, and many times, he said his inspiration was the very same inspiration of Stevo's inspiration, who is Edgar Bergen, right? He said he wanted to start working with puppets because of Edgar Bergen. So ventriloquism influencing the biggest puppeteer of all times.
Exactly. Jim Henson was very supportive of ventriloquism. He found out that he couldn't do it. And the strange thing is that he didn't have to do it because his real voice is so much like Kermit's voice.
Yes, marvelous.
that it's kind of amazing to see. Why would you always talk like Kermit? Is it because Kermit is his voice? But Jim Henson gave us and gave the whole world and gave our culture the soft puppets and the tradition of making these puppets and making them talk. But that's why Jay Johnson is still around, and he's a regular customer or a visitor at the Vent Haven convention, and
also a very nice guy, and we could talk to him many times. Also, could meet him.
Absolutely, he's upbeat still with his type of humor, and I like him a lot because he's one of the more we get into the present times, the longer time I had to meet them and make friends. But that's not why I'm putting him in within the top 10, because I think objectively he belongs in there.
Top 5!
The next name would definitely be Jeff Dunham.
Jeff Dunham, yes. And now Jeff Dunham is he's a big success and a nice guy who deserves that. But we could say that in the modern times, I mean, lately, he's the guy who, shows the name of ventriloquism worldwide, and then he inspired me at first. I saw his video in the internet, and I saw, and I already used the puppet as a puppeteer on a TV show here with the Antel, El Hormiguero, or Formiguero. And then when I saw him, and I said, "Oh, I want to do that." Because of him and Dan Horn, I don't know if it's gonna be in the top 10 here, but because of them,
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler. I really loved his act, and then I fell in love with it, and I said, "Oh, I'll try to do it," and that's why I went to the convention. But yes,
Jeff is extremely talented as a ventriloquist. He can pick up anything and make it talk. That's one thing. The second thing is that he is very persistent in what he wants. Before he got on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno,
yes, for 10 years he's tried.
For 10 years, he auditioned more than 12 times and was rejected.
Yes.
He moved from Texas to California. He was very persistent. I just by coincidence, I got to know him in '89, so long before he was successful. Everybody knew that he had the talent, but he also had the stamina to go out and fight in the world of show business.
This is also important.
And at that time, ventriloquists were not really liked. And few people know that Johnny Carson, who had the Tonight Show before Jay Leno did, started out as a ventriloquist. And he thought it's a novelty act, and I didn't know
Johnny Carson started as a ventriloquist.
Another tidbit you'll learn. So it was the rule on the Tonight Show. There are no gimmicks. There are no acrobats and stuff. So Jeff had to fight to be on that show with Walter, and he did succeed, and he was called back and all that. So that's something and also he established the fact that ventriloquists can do well commercially, which is very important in America, because before ventriloquists were looked upon as the bottom feeders of entertainers, only one step above pantomime by American standards. Our standards are different. But Jeff showed people that, yes, as a ventriloquist, you can be successful in the world of entertainment. In the world, even competing with stand-up comedians in terms of how much money do they make. And that put the whole reputation of ventriloquism away from a dying art thing into the time of, that's a respected art form. And also, he's still very creative. He created puppets like Ahmed, the dead terrorist. He was the first to come up with the concept of a grumpy person, Walter.
Yeah, Walter, yeah.
So he's constantly, and every year we get a lecture by him of the new stuff he cranks out. Not everything is a success, but he was the first to do 3D printing on his own puppets. He creates a lot of his puppets himself. And so there are many things out of his creativity that help to further the art and bring new ideas into it. And that is why Jeff Dunham definitely belongs in that.
And also, just do that now. Just like to tell you that his very first puppet was a toy, which is Mortimer's Nerd from Edgar Bergen.
Yeah.
And so he was given when he was 6. And he started, and he was a very shy kid.
Oh, yes.
And then he started working with his Mortimer's Nerd, which is a marvelous character. And
Sorry. My impersonation of Mortimer's Nerd.
Yes. And I still don't know whether he tried to do Goofy or the voice of Goofy, Edgar Bergen, or the opposite. I don't know who influenced who.
Well, I'm not going to use any name with that big company on air.
Oh, yeah, we can.
No,
Yes.
I don't want that. I don't
said
want lawyers.
Goofy. I said Goofy.
Is Steve afraid of a very little mouse?
Yeah,
I'm afraid of mice.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We are.
Inside joke.
Top 6.
Top 6.
So the next name on the list will be Ron Lucas.
Ron Lucas. Thank you.
Ron, with 2 N, Ron Lucas.
Yes, Ron Lucas is...
Ron Lucas went to Britain. Actually, he went to the same high school as Jay Johnson. And
really? I didn't...
Jay Johnson, Jeff Dunham, and Ron Lucas went to the same high school in Texas. Not at the same time, but it's a funny coincidence.
But wait, are all they from the
They're
same
from Texas.
city?
They're from
Texas. So nice.
Texas. So Ron made it big in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
He had a TV show in Britain, very creative show, doing different puppets, different concepts. He performed for Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, on the Royal Command show.
Wow, this is what ventriloquism can take us.
He
far
performed
away.
for a number of American presidents, and that's a beautiful video that he gave as a present to all the people who came to the Vegas convention with his performance at the Lincoln Theater, where Lincoln was killed, in front of Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan. And one of the lines that he used was, "Oh, that's the leader of the free world." And the puppet said, "And she brought her husband." Got a big laugh out of Nancy Reagan. And
Ladies and gentlemen,
Do you know who that is?
it's the leader of the free world.
And she brought her husband.
Ronald Reagan. And Ron told us the stories how he messed with the Secret Service.
Very daring, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
they told him that you can't do this and you can't do that, and he fooled them with the microphone.
Do you think Her Majesty would mind if I asked a question?
No, you are not going to ask Her Majesty a question.
Why not?
This is very awkward. We're Americans. We don't know very much about British protocol, you see, and it's not proper for a person to address Her Majesty directly.
I'm a puppet.
I don't care.
And Ron, again, is a very humble and great guy, very in the classical style, but still putting new stuff into it. He was the first to have a complete show of his own in Las Vegas, in the Rio. And when we had the Vent Festival in Rio, he invited the complete ventriloquial cast and crew and everybody from the convention in Las Vegas over, and he did a matinee show just for us.
Wow.
And then they allowed the public in, and we were sitting in the inner circle with our puppets. And he said, "Guys, you paid for a show with one ventriloquist. Now you get a show with 80 or 100 ventriloquists." And so we were like, "Whoa." And he made this show just for us and showed how he played the cameras with the big screens, how to use a teleprompter, and all these things. So he's very sharing. But of course, at that time, if you have a show in Las Vegas, you are in Las Vegas, and there's no way you can get out of town. So Ron, to me, still is one of the great ones that belongs
He's a great
in this
one.
list.
I agree with you.
Top 7.
So now we're in about the more recent time. So the next name that has to go on it is Terry Fader. Now, Terry made his career joining together wonderfully different talents again. He sings very well. on his own, he would be a great singer, country singer, and I like the music he does when he is himself. But also he has this marvelous talent to impersonate people, to sing like anyone.
Elvis,
right.
and
You name it. It's just amazing. And he does that without moving his lips, and he's a great puppeteer.
Yeah, that video that he dubs everyone is so amazing. He does everybody's voices so perfectly.
And again, he came to the convention. I was lucky enough to meet him and talk to him. Again, a humble guy. He had a tough way into show business.
yes, sure. The thing that the story he tells about his father, the relationship with his parents, and
Yeah, let's not go into all the details here, but he had a hard. It was not a given that he would succeed. It took him a long time. He had very low jobs he had to do. So, and then he won America's Got Talent.
marvelous.
And hit it big, got a contract in Vegas, and he managed to get out of this contract, which is very difficult with the legalese involved. So he can do his own show, and it's a marvelous show. He brought part of it to the convention. We went to downtown Cincinnati to a really big theater,
Yes.
and saw him do his show there. So again, he put a new twist on ventriloquism, showing that it can be a very attractive, like a Broadway show.
Wow.
With showgirls, music, lights, stage, centered on this one guy and his talents.
I got emotional if you said talking about him.
And that theater.
Yes, that theater. Because Terry Fader in 2013 was my very first attendance in the Vent Haven convention. And the first thing is I met some guys there, including Stevo Schuling, who is now here, because you had the marvelous you invited us to come over again into the next year, in the coming year, 2014, which is something we're going to talk about yet. But we had the invitation to come back and to perform. And also, when you talked about, I think it was Ron Lucas who invited all the guys in Las Vegas, the ventriloquists in Las Vegas, and so did Terry to the Taft Theater in Cincinnati downtown, and so did Jeff to the stadium.
Yes.
He performed just close to the convention. So I think this is something really nice from the Vent community, and the big names, the big guys are really humble guys, and also they foster the ventriloquism in the Vent community and abroad, and I mean and all over.
So and over the years, many aspects that many people are not aware of were taken into the hands of individuals with incredible talent. And so this Vent Haven convention is one place where these talents are sort of pooled, and people get ideas, and creativity is brought upon by being together and having a lot of fun, as you know, but also exchanging experiences, because many ventriloquists, I'd say most ventriloquists, are pretty isolated wherever they live. And now with internet and communication, it's easier to feel as one community, but still being together in one spot and exchanging experiences and feeling I'm not the only crazy person playing with puppets, but actually there is a group that stick together, and some are very successful and some use it as a hobby. That is such a marvelous way to bring the tradition along.
Marvelous. And Terry Fader sings before. I love the Teleton act with the very famous
Elvis impersonator.
Elvis impersonator. But do you remember who was the host of the TV show?
Jay Leno?
No, a very famous comedian.
Jerry Seinfeld?
Jerry.
Jerry
Lewis. Jerry Lewis. So I think I have watched that video that Jerry Lewis invites Terry Fader on stage, and it's wonderful to see two of very big names of showbiz, one ventriloquist and a very famous comedian. and that was marvelous. I've watched that many times.
Yeah, and I watched many times the Jerry Lewis appearance in Law and Order Special Fictions Unit. He was a very great actor.
Oh, nice. Yes. So, yes, Terry Fatorshak. And we have just watched his show again 5 months ago in Las Vegas. So he's great. Yeah.
Amazing show.
Amazing show.
The top 8.
8, 9, 10. So 3 more names I can mention.
Yeah, 8.
I know we could talk about 50 names.
Let's add Dan Horn.
Dan Horn.
Let's add Dan Horn to the list. Why? Because he introduced a completely new technique of puppetry, and also the approach of the characterization of like Orson and other puppets he had. He's just one of the great puppeteers, and very creative man, and he loves to teach. He came even over to Germany to do a workshop, helped me teaching ventriloquism. So to me, both with his professionalism, with his creativity, with his puppetry, with the new creative things that he put into our art form, I think he belongs there.
And I have such a respect with Dan Horn, Warley, because he's the one who inspired my arms to move.
Yes.
I'm still trying,
we know that.
But I'm not that great yet, but I'll keep trying.
So, talking about Dan Horn's influence is so big because we say he's the best ventriloquist puppeteer altogether. And he's also a very nice guy, very humble, but very talented. And I would say he made me laugh, and he made me cry, because the last ventriloquism session, right? The convention last year, his very last
performance.
I was there, and when he said to everyone he was going to be retired, and then I really cried because he is one of my antenor, who was the oldest man, oldest man of mine, Anthony, is totally Orson's influence, and I have talked to him about it. A lot of people think it's Walter, but in this case, this is not Jeff's influence. This is Dan Horn's influence totally in my act. And then, and I do love him, this guy. We love him, right? And I took classes with him too. He taught us. Remember, Duda?
Yeah, he was. Seeing him manipulate seu tenor was so magical.
Yes, it was.
I think I still have the footage.
And he also did it with Juanito. And so Dan Horn is marvelous.
Number 8. You have 2 more, Steve.
2 more, Steve.
2 more. Now we're getting. I think we covered the things that have to be covered. Now I will probably take the 2 spots for personal friends of mine, whose contribution to the ventriloquial art I admire very much. One would be Valentine Vox.
Valentine Vox, yes.
Because he was
Top
so
9.
important for me to find a way into ventriloquism. The book, the collection, the museum that he had in Vegas, the Magic and Movie Hall of Fame, his initiative to put in a ventriloquist convention when the Vent Haven convention stopped. They discontinued their series, and then Valentine, for a number of years, created a ventriloquist convention in Las Vegas. Also, he was the first MC of an international show, which is the format that I enjoy most.
Nice.
He MC'd that mother of all. And when he started the Vegas conventions, they were called Vegas Festival later on, he made it clear that from the very beginning he wanted an international show.
Wow.
Before there was one at Vent Haven.
Nice to know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And he lived in Switzerland for a long time. He speaks decent German, very good French, everyday Italian, because he works in Switzerland, and he has an act that is styled the way that a European nightclub would have it, with an international crowd. But also, of course, he's an Englishman. He's from London, England, And so to me, he's an example of a very stylish type of European continental ventriloquism that's probably not topical anymore, but at his time and for his time and age, and what he did to the preservation of the art of ventriloquism belongs in the top 10.
This is great because you're saying, of course, we have some other names that that could be in this list. Many. For instance, saying chronologically, Great Leicester is a good example.
If you go past before, there was, of course, there were.
But I agree with all of them. Valentine, I don't know much about him. I just know about the book, and then. But this is great to know that he was the very first MC of international shows.
Well, Jerry Lane is the ventriloquist at the Jerry Lane who created the idea. Let's try an international show. But other than that, Jerry Lane was chairman for 1 year. At that time, they had a different chairman each year, so every chairman could try out a few new things. So he's really responsible for putting a show in. But Valentine emceed it, and because it was so exotic, I was allowed to be in the cast, and I was so nervous that we went first. So to wrap up this thing about the 10 ventriloquists, there's only one spot left.
Yes, one spot left, and Duda.
Como é que fala Rufinho os tambores?
One spot left.
Play the drums.
And I'm torn really between so many names that I'm not going to reveal it. I leave that spot secret in my heart.
I love this. This is really creative because yes, I know what it. I know, but can I say 3 names you could put?
Oh yes, I can give you many names.
Yeah, like Pete Michaels, for instance.
Some honorable mentions.
Buddy Big Mountain.
Buddy Big
the
Mountain.
Native American would be
marvelous.
Definitely one who belongs in that range. To me, Stephen Knowles. There is no ventriloquist who had more volunteers on stage than him. You know, he performed at the Comedy Barn in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee for, I don't know, 15 or 20 years doing 400 shows a year or more than that. Sammy King.
Yes.
Would be definitely one name, one that belongs in the really high range.
Wonderful.
But there are so many that are so dear as personal friends to me that I don't want to put them on the wall. They live in my heart.
Yes, sure. So I liked it, Steve. The 10th. I was really suffering in your shoes, because you have to choose 10 guys, and about 500.
So I try to give you the reasons why and why I think they belong there.
And the reason why the 10th is great also
because there are too many too close to my heart.
Yeah, but I would like to ask you, Steve, how is it like to perform abroad?
Abroad, as in another language.
Yeah, in another language or in another country, even in your own language.
Well, if it's in German, that's okay, but I need a German audience. Now, the key to all of this, to all performing, not only ventriloquism, but also any form of stage entertainment, is know your audience. Know who you are performing for. So my performances in English at a convention are different from the show I would do for an English-speaking, say, a Lions club in Germany when they have visitors. In that respect, it's different, but most of my performances overseas and abroad were at the convention for conventioneers. So they were for a very, very special audience. They are ventriloquists. I don't have to explain to them about ventriloquism. I can't fool them with ventriloquism. So it's an area where creativity and diversity and maybe trying out new things is called for, and that is why the international show with people from all over the world is, to me, such an important thing, because people bring in their culture, their tradition, their songs, their style, their
way of
all that, and of course Brazil being such a huge country with such a rich folklore tradition and entertaining tradition, and also being a little isolated, being the only Portuguese-speaking country in South America, and the experience of the past 2 weeks has been really highlighting that in so many aspects, that it's a wonderful, special contribution to have people from different countries. And remember the first international show we did with a girl from Romania and a guy from Singapore.
Yes.
And you from Brazil, and me from Germany.
Yeah, Joseph Dam, Krina Svoboda.
Krina Svoboda from Romania.
And Warley Santana.
And Warley Santana from Brazil.
I was really nervous, you know. I remember that. And but
it was a tough time for you too.
Yes. Yeah. Just to tell you, people, who, we have the images also. It was exactly the very same week.
A few days later.
A few days later, the 7-1 against Germany, Brazil-Germany here in the World Cup here in Brazil. And it was a wonderful experience. I went
not
to...
Not the 7-1.
Not the 7-1.
It was wonderful for us, Duda.
For them, yes. And we went to 25 de Março, which is a very famous market here in São Paulo, a street market. And then I bought a trophy, remember?
Yes,
World Cup trophy.
Yes.
And the scarf and many things Brazilian do. And I think people are having a look at the images right now.
Yeah, for sure.
And then this is, I think it is and also I had the opportunity for having my kid, my child, my daughter, Andressa, to go in with me. To watch her father performing abroad for the very first time. So for me, it was opening a gate to a new era, a new experience, lots of things have happened after that. Also for confidence and so many things. Of course, we could be talking for over, as you know, 4 hours, endless, talking about many things and so on. But about the new generation of ventriloquists elsewhere, I mean, all the world, and we have Nicholas Bush, we have the guys, the great guys out there. But I would like to thank you once again for everything you are, and it means a lot to me, and for sure to do that
a lot to me also,
and to us in Brazil, in general, to my parents, to everyone who is really delighted to have you here, to have the pleasure of having you here for us to say it's something that we always dreamed of, but now it really came true. So thank you.
It's me. I really have to thank you because it's something that all I can do is say I hope it sparks something, gets something going, and reaches out to all people who like entertainment, who like having fun, who like international relationships, and maybe have an inkling to that ventriloquism is a lot more than meets the eye.
I'd like to thank our sponsors too. So I have beautiful gifts for you.
For me?
Yeah. First thing is a very beautiful, I think, mug.
Yes.
Which is this.
Thank you. Obrigado, as I've learned to say. Beautiful.
You're welcome.
Looks a little like the cup that's on the table.
Yes. Yeah. This is the very same one. Very beautiful. Things from L'Occitane.
L'Occitane, do Shopping Jardim Pamplona, gente.
Yes, from Jardim Pamplona. Abração pro Id. So this is for you. L'Occitane au Brésil in French, but it's Brazilian things. Steve, thank you. Gente, foi bom demais estar aqui com vocês. Obrigado. Espero que vocês tenham aprendido e gostado muito sobre ventriloquia. Eu agradeço também o Jeff, que está aqui com a gente, ajudando. O Jeff, que é fera no som. O Joilson Wilkers, Joelson, que está aqui também. E ao Marcão, a todo mundo que ajuda a este podcast acontecer. Estamos falando diretamente de São Paulo, mas...
Não esquece de se inscrever no canal, de curtir o vídeo e de compartilhar com a galera, principalmente para os ventrílocos.
É isso mesmo. Muito obrigado, gente. Um beijo. Até, divulga, tá? Compartilha. E até o próximo Warley no ar. Or Warley on air. Thank you.
Cut. Now.